I'm Johnny Lynham, the military CEO. For you guys who don't know me, I am a passionate real estate investor, family man. My wife Melissa. Shout out to Melissa, everything she done to get everything together tonight. Three beautiful kids as well too, and I love talking about real estate. I love talking about real estate and love helping people level up and to get to the point where they can achieve success for themselves and for their family. I see we got a lot of investors in the house. All right, let's go. All right, so I talk a little bit about me. Originally from Alabama, you hear me talking a lot about on the multifamily side. I'm bullish. I'm doubling down on the state of Alabama for a lot of different reasons we'll talk about. But grew up in Lower Alabama, the other LA, about an hour north of Mobile in the sticks. Joined the Air Force after college, University of Alabama, graduate, electrical engineering degree, Roll Tide, and been on active duty now for a little bit over 17 years. And it's been an amazing journey. Done a whole lot of different jobs. Deployed a couple times, and done all kind of program management type positions. I would say the pinnacle of my career was a senior captain, where I was running a $1.2 billion development contract. And that's billion with the B. I know it's crazy. At like 30 years old. And, for me, that was kind of the pivotal point. We'll talk about a little bit about where I was, from a career-wise perspective, that I made that shift over to real estate. Wrote a book, Millionaire Real Estate Success Strategy. You can see there on the top right. For those that stick with me tonight, I'm going to have a special gift for you guys where you can actually get a PDF. You get a free copy of the book tonight. For those that hang around to the end, I'm going to give you the link, hook you guys up with that. But we've grown our portfolio over the last few years, and to the tune now over $10 million. We got another 20 unit that we'll be closing on later this month, and just continue to grow. And I think that's what it's all about. And my outward facing company is Operation Restore, that operates in the Panama City, Florida area across the state of Alabama, where we help motivated home sellers or motivated sellers that are looking to sell a house. That Operation Restore is that vehicle that we use, our company, where we go in, we meet with homeowners, we help solve their problems, and we buy real estate off market. Operation Invest is kind of our investment arm, where we look to raise capital, but then also doing deals on our multifamily side, kind of come in up under that umbrella. So a lot of moving pieces there, and all this is driven by why we buy real estate, and the family side. I have a picture of my family up there, but that's the reason why I do all this stuff. It's the reason why I still work for the Air Force full-time active duty all these years, but I still have my business buying real estate. And if you guys stay to the end, I already told you that I'm gonna hook you guys up with a free copy of my book, so you can take that and just kind of read. And I really love the book and the feedback that I've got, because I got a chance to interview over 30 real estate investors and just capture their stories and kind of bring those together with my own. And boom, there's a lot of experience that's captured in those pages to get you going. Get a good job and save your money. Somebody drop a 1 in the chat if they heard that before. If your parents ever told you, or you heard somebody, older than you when you was growing up say, hey, you need to go get you a good job and you got to save some money. That's it. Go have a good life. That's what you need to go do. And for me, that was the information that I was working for. It's like, hey, you go ahead, the Air Force is going to pay for you to go to college. They're going to set you up for success long term. And then boom, hey, save 10 cents out of every dollar, put 10% back. You pay your tithes, get a church that 10%, and boom, you got 80% to go out there and do some damage with. And and so I went off that process and with that mindset that, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get a good job and I'm gonna save my money, and I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna live the American dream. Get a decent job and save my money, and everything's gonna line up perfect. And that sets you up on a path for the next cliche. Y'all drop a 2 in the chat if you heard this one. Work until you're 62 years old, then you retire, and then you can start living. Then you can go take the vacation to Europe and go to Europe for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. Then you can go down to Aruba or the Bahamas and hang out after you retire. Then you can go and volunteer at the nonprofit. All that stuff that now you can start living your life after the age of 62. I'm like, hold on. You telling me I got to put my money in the stock market on Wall Street. I invest my money there, put a little bit back, 10% each month, my whole life, and then 62, then I can retire. But if I need my money before I get 62, they're gonna penalize me to take my money out the account. If I need the money for something else, I'm like, what? I'm like, hold on. So they say, put the money in here, like, oh yeah, you can't touch it until you're 59 and a half. I'm like, hold on. That don't sound right. You mean I gotta put my money there, give them my money for 30 years, and then I come back and then I can retire, I can access my money without penalty. Oh, by the way, and then when I pull my money, I gotta pay taxes on it too. I'm like, okay, something's gotta give. And I think that's the thing that, got me going on financial freedom. I stumbled into real estate, using my VA loan with my first duty station after being there a year, and then moving on to, the opportunity that I had with another fellow lieutenant buddy of mine. Shout out to Nick Battle. Nick Battle, he hit me up. He was like, J2, I found a great property, man. It's a duplex. He's like, I'm going to buy a side and you're going to buy a side. And man, hey, we're going to rent this sucker out when we leave. I'm like, all right, cool. And for those that, that read my book, they know my story. When I joined the military, that my credit was screwed up coming out of college. I had to actually have a family member sign on my lease for my first apartment. Super humbling feeling. And, for me, and I started working on my credit after that. And luckily, I was in a position when he came around with that opportunity where I was prepared. And I think that's one of the things when you hear and look at everything we talk about tonight, it's all about preparation. Everything that you've done up until your life, up until this point, has prepared you for your future. But what is it going to take for you to get to the other side? And I think that's one of the pieces that we don't realize, because we're in the moment, we're in the day that you don't realize it. So that's the picture right there, that one side of that duplex that I purchased there, where it all started. I actually sold that property at the beginning of this year. I always kind of look and assess, and we're always looking at our portfolio and making decisions on what stays, what sells. We were coming up on having to replacing the roof, replacing the HVAC, the carpet. The tenant that had been in there, she had been in there for 11 years. When I left that property in January 2010, I've never set foot back inside of again, over 13 years. And but that's the power of real estate, and being able to have cash flow and passive income coming in for these assets that allows you to do that. But that's a little bit about me and kind of how I got started. For me, the pivotal point was you leave it out at the pinnacle of my career and looking at it, it was like, okay, can I position myself to go 30 years in the military? And the thing with it, when it came down to it, it was like, okay, does it get any better than this? This is a picture of me and my team in Afghanistan outside of one of the ISR aircraft that we supported. One of the best times in my life, being able to drive that mission. But it gave me the framework that we're going to talk about tonight. Because for the find, fix, finish, and everything that we do and the approach that we take to real estate, that is really, really simple when you get down to it. A lot of times, you all may have been in other forums, seminars, talk about real estate, and they make it super, super complicated. But at the root of it, it's simple. We're using 5th grade math, and it's simple. You find a house, you find a property, you fix it, and then whatever your exit strategy is, you finish it up. You're gonna refinance it, or you're gonna sell it, or somewhere in between. And it's really that simple when you come down to it. It doesn't have to be all complicated. And then people make it intimidating, and I think they do it a disservice. But for me, it was, okay, what do I need to do now to make that pivot? And for me, I had to start, with creating my next generation and building that generational wealth. For me, was start my own fix and flip business with my wife. We made the decision. She wasn't going back to work after we had our first kid. And it was like, hey, it's more important for you to stay home, be the nucleus of the household, take care of them. And we'll figure the money stuff out. And so that was the thing, getting started, that a lot of people, they have the limited mindset, the limiting beliefs that I got to have a lot of money. I got to have a little money to get started. And for me, I had to have that transformation. And we all have to go to that transformation in order to get to where we want to be in life. Because everything that you know and everything that you got up until this point is a byproduct of the information that you have, and for the knowledge that you have today. But to go to the next level, almost about to check, y'all have to participate with me tonight, because I really love when we start talking about investing, that we got to go to the next level. I want y'all to type in the chat. I can't see faces, but I want you to type in the chat next level, because in order for you to go to the next level, that you're gonna have to change your habits. You're gonna have to change some of the people that you're around. You're going to have to change the person. You're not even going to recognize who you are when you start looking in the mirror a year from now, if you make the commitment to change your life. And I think that's the thing that we got to realize to get to where we want to be, that we're going to have to change who we are today, because everything that's gotten you this far isn't going to get you to where you want to be. And so that was the thing. Faith and doubt are both beliefs. One belief is in favorable results and the other doesn't. And that's the thing. If you believe that you can do something, you're right. If you don't believe that you can do something, you're right. And so, and that's the thing that we got to realize, that we got to start telling ourselves better stories, because the positivity and the faith and belief in ourselves is what's going to get us to that next level. Because guess what? Manifestation without work, it ain't going to happen. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the work. And, you know, and for me to go through, you know, flipping the houses, you know, the moving with the Air Force, buying foreclosures, renting them out when I'm leaving, and going through that whole process, I had to go through numerous transformations. I had to go from the bad credit, can't get an apartment building, to being a homeowner. Then from there, I had to go from homeowner, moving, and now get my first rental property. And then from there, it went from, okay, how do I buy my first $25,000 rental off Avenue K in Birmingham, to now, you know, in 2015, when we started our fix and flip business, to start going through and fixing and repairing houses. And then tonight, we're going to talk about how, even from that point with the fix and flips, and how setting up that business, how I had to go through another transformation to do our first multifamily deal. And that's what we're about to get into tonight. So right now, so you can see the refinance closing day. We're going to talk about the Lenawee deal. That was our first deal, 18 units. A crazy, crazy story behind that one. We picked up another 3 units last year in Montgomery, Alabama. Shout out to my partner, Reggie Reynolds. If you guys don't know, one of my coaching clients last year, they actually found the Montgomery deals. They brought the deals in, and we put a heck of and that's a whole nother story. We're going to just talk about my first one today. We're not going to talk about the 3 we picked up last year in Montgomery. And then we got another 20 that's under contract that we're about to close later this month. And it's just been a phenomenal blessing. And I'm a true believer that real estate will change your life. And like my dad always told me, if you take care of business, business will take care of you. And guess what? We all here tonight that's online. You're watching, you're in here tonight. Y'all, we're setting ourselves up to take care of business. That's what we're doing. We're coming to go to work tonight. We're about to go to that next level. So my first multifamily deal. So it was an 18-unit Panama City, Lenawee Street apartments. You had 4 quadplexes, and then you had 1 duplex. And, you know, I found this deal. It was a crazy story. So we were in Panama City. We moved there August of 2017. I got hit with orders to deploy October of 17, left out March of 18, got back September of 18. And about 3 weeks after I got back, Hurricane Michael hit. Category 5 hurricane. We were displaced 6 months, living in Airbnbs, hopping around on the beach. We lived in Destin for about 2 months. Then after the Christmas holiday, we moved back to Panama City Beach and hopped around on Airbnbs for a couple months there until March. Got started once we got back overnight, y'all. It was crazy that we had thousands of dilapidated houses in Panama City. We're still, to this day, it's been over 4 years, we're still buying hurricane damaged homes. And so that setback, what we thought with the devastation, you know, my son, my 3rd child, was born 5 days after the hurricane in Mobile, you know, hopping around Airbnb with a newborn baby. And, you know, we were still working the mission, getting the mission back online. I was commuting an hour each way to go into work and everything. So it was just crazy. And then, you know, like, okay, and trying to start up to get the business going off the ground, but we were able to do it. And that perseverance, grit, I talk about that in my book, that if you're going to get into real estate investing, you got to have grit. You got to be able to persevere, because it's just a matter of time. Stuff is going to happen. Life is going to happen. But we already know whether we're doing what we want to do and we're trying to live on purpose and accomplish our dreams, whether or not we're doing that or not, life's going to happen. So we might as well try to live our dreams out and try to accomplish what it is that we want to do in life. Because guess what? Life is still going to happen regardless of what we're doing. But the crazy part with the story was we got going. Man, we had 3 houses under contract going into April of 2019. And May 1st, at PT, goofing off, just playing basketball, pickup game, playing horse, and tore my ACL. Had surgery at the end of May, had these houses under contract and everything going through that process. So lo and behold, I tried, I had learned probably a year before that, the importance of networking, going to these seminars, meeting other investors, and just getting out of my bubble, even though, because we did the fix and flips, it was kind of bootstrap. We started just one house at a time, and then eventually we started bringing on private investors. It started growing, family members started seeing us on social media and other people, and then it just kind of took off. But up until then, after I tore my ACL, I didn't go to any professional development. October that year was a multifamily conference in Orlando. My sister lives down there. Like, boom, kill two birds with one stone. The kids can hang out. I can go to the conference, and it's all good. So went there, and when I say it was a life-changing event, it was a life-changing event, y'all. That it allowed me to see the next level, that it wasn't that far off. That everything that I accomplished, it had been a perfect setup, and that, guess what? These people that are buying apartment deals, that's doing the multifamily deals, they're no different than me and you. They're no different than any of us. They all put their hands on one leg at a time. Guess what? They all jump in their car, one leg, one foot before the other, and they're really down to earth people. They got a little bit more knowledge than I had, a little bit more knowledge than you had. You're getting a lot of it tonight. I can't give it all in an hour, but I realized that, hey, that there's different ways to get these deals done, and that you can't have limiting beliefs, because everything that had brought me to that point, I had limited beliefs about money. You got to work hard for money. You got to trade your time for money. And I had a scarcity mindset. And so when I left that conference, it went away. And it was crazy. E.T., the hip hop preacher, was one of the guest speakers there. And you know how E.T. is. E.T.'s over the top. We talking about people in suits, they're in their khakis and everything. And he wasn't getting any crowd participation. So I'm like, man, I'm hyped. I'm like, this ET. I'm like, man, y'all must don't know. Y'all must don't want it. You got to want it as much as you want to breathe. And so I started participating in the audience. And he was like, hey, you need to get a property. He's like, how many kids you got? I just got 3. He's like, you got to get a property for your wife, and you got to get one for each one of your kids. And I was like, cool. And then we started speaking names. And he was like, what's your wife name? I was like, Melissa. All right. He's like, what's your oldest child? I'm like, Johnny, Mackenzie, Jace. He's like, all right, everybody got to get one. And he was like, boom. He's like, all right, so you got to get 5 apartments. He said, how much time do you want to get them apartments? I said, man, give me 5 years. I'm going to get one each year. 5 years. He's like, all right, let's go. 5 years. It's crazy that when I think about it, when we close on this 20 unit, the end of this month is going to be 5 apartment building. And we're talking about 3 years. And that I'm telling y'all that this stuff, that if you put your mind to it and you're faithful to the process, that you can achieve your wildest dreams. I would have never thought that I would say that I own 5 apartment buildings in just 3 years from when that happened, back in 2020. And, and it was just the craziest part, from when we bought that first one, March 2020, we're about to talk about that tonight. And, now to coming in March of 23, right at 3 years, we're like 2 months past the 3-year mark. That is crazy. But it all started with my mindset, with saying that I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Y'all, when I left that conference 45 days later, I put my letter of intent in to purchase this 18 unit. They had it listed for $1.35 million. We put an offer in at $1 million. We ended up coming in at $1,050,000. What we ended up selling that, and it was great. Half the units had been updated. There was 4 units that were completely down from the hurricane. There was 4 units that didn't get damaged at all, that were legacy from the 80s when it was built, that hadn't been updated. And and so we went in with a game plan. And so we knew that the pain point for them, they owned another business in town, and they hadn't been paying attention to the property. A contractor had ran off with money, and so they were just over it. And they were retirement age. I know you can't see the numbers on the slide, but we went through, we underwrote it. I'm going through, it's crazy. The wife and I, we was talking, this was a couple of weeks ago, that I was in the truck, and I called a broker that had a listing, and I was like, yep, we want to put an offer in for $1 million. And she's like, when I got the phone, she's like, you're like, you just put an offer in for $1 million. I was like, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And, but it felt right. And I knew it was like, I did my underwriting. I did my due diligence. I know there's no way I can screw this up. If I can buy this for $1 million and what the market rent is, then there's no way that I can screw this up. So we went through, put the letter of intent together. I did my underwriting, and we let them know. It still took us a little bit over 3 months to get under contract. We walked in January. This was a little bit before Christmas. We finally walked in January. It still took them about 6 weeks to go through before we went back and forth and actually got the contract signed. But while we were going through the due diligence, because one of the things when we walked in January, we saw that there was the caution barriers in the street, and it was a puddle of water there. So I'm like, what's going on with that? And so it was an issue with a water leak that obviously that was there. So the owner, they had to pay like $31,000 in order to get the water leak fixed. And so that was one of the things that held us up with closing. We didn't close in June, whereas that it was like, hey, I don't want to take that risk. Where they were like, hey, well, we'll just give you the money since they're backed up, and we give you the money and you get it fixed after we close. And I'm like, nah, bro, we gonna get this fixed. We gonna get this laid out. Everybody gonna have their water on. Everybody gonna be working when we close on the dotted line. And so we had to wait a little while for them to actually get the work done. But you'll see that we had a shout out to Extreme Plumbing. They was on point. I learned so much about that process, working with the city, with the plumbing. I was out there after work in my uniform, stopping by, hey, checking on the progress. They were in the back. They wouldn't let me get on the backhoe. I was like, man, let me get a shot for social media. Let me get on the backhoe and do some digging or whatever. But they wouldn't let me do that. But they were real cool. And I just kind of learned about their process, about them working with the city and just how all that back and forth went. And then, of course, we got the appraisal and everything else to go through. Y'all know y'all got to do your due diligence when you get these properties. We talk about that. You got to do your due diligence and make sure that you're buying an asset that's one, that the maintenance has been kept up on it. And if it hadn't been kept up on it, that's okay. That's fine. But that's where we got to hit them with the price. And we got to account for that in the price. So we went through that whole process, the financing with this deal. Somebody say the money. So I want somebody to say, where is my money? You got to know where the money is. Right now, I'm telling y'all need to have at least 2 or 3 lenders ready to go. The credit is tightening up right now across the board. So you want to have as many lenders in your back pocket that you have a relationship with as possible, because you want to be able to move with speed. Speed. Success loves speed, and you got to move with speed. So we had a really good relationship with our lender here, our local credit union. Credit unions are the best. One of the things that I tell you guys, give you some game, is that credit unions keep their loans on their books. They don't sell their loans to Wall Street. They keep them on their books, and the loans are approved by committee. And the business development guy, the VP, the rep for small business or whatever, they come in there and they're like, hey, Johnny's a good dude. We financed a couple of his single family portfolios with the refinance with the projects that he's done. He's got X amount on deposit with us. He manages these properties. He's like, boom, all right, cool. He's like, I vote that we do the deal. We finance the apartment building for him. And the 8 other people at the table, they raise their hand like, yep, cool, let's do it. Give them the money. And that's it. And it was mind-boggling. Y'all, who ever been through some pain with getting their personal residence, whether it's a VA loan, a FHA, a conventional loan? Man, I got some story. That's a whole nother 2-hour masterclass with some of the pain I done went through with Wells Fargo and dealing with some of these other banks. Man, I tell you, especially when you got real estate and you own assets and you ain't got no cookie cutter, tax returns. Oh man, it's crazy. But through it all, it wasn't nobody but the good Lord. And I tell you, so the thing is, I told y'all we bought it for $1,050,000. That we ended up getting debt for $840,000. 4% interest rate. It resets every 5 years, and then it's a 15-year term. And so with $840K, we had to bring $210,000 roughly to the table for closing. And we did the appraisal. And so with the appraisal came back that after repair, after we bring those 4 units up that were down, that the value would be at $1.34 million. And like, okay, cool. We buy it for $1,050,000. We actually took over the insurance claim. The insurance claim gave us $50,000. We ended up having to put another $20,000 with it. So it was $70,000 to turn those 4 units over. And lo and behold, we were able to execute our business plan and get it done. So what did we do? So the $210,000, I didn't have to bring all the money to the table. I brought over half of it, but I ended up raising $95K. I brought on 5 investors to raise their money. I gave them a 7% return on a 2-year note. And at the end of the 2 years was the refinance milestone. And so at the end of those 2 years, I was going to give them $20,000 that we would split based off pro rata, kind of based off of their contribution to that 95K. And so it ended up working well. They got a 34% return on their money in 2 years. Myself and two other buddies of mine came in with the ownership group, and and it was all good. And so I ended up owning 77% of the complex. Partner number one, he raised 75,000. He owned I gave him 18%, and then had a college buddy of mine. He put in 20K, and I gave him 5% ownership. And after we closed, so I had the bright idea, since I knew I was leaving, coming back to the DC area. I'm like, man, I'm gonna run this property and manage it myself for 6 months. Man, oh man, what experience. No, it wasn't all bad. This was in the middle. So we closed June of 2020, 3 months after COVID hit. And so it was definitely a process. You can see my kids there. Can somebody say family business? This family business. Your kids go with me everywhere. I got my kids underwriting one of my deals right now. I got my kids, they invested their money. I let them invest $100, and I'm gonna 10x their return on there. But they got the promissory notes and all this stuff. That's what that just reminded me. Family business, y'all. This is family business. But I self-managed 6 months. We got the insurance claim, gave us 51K that we brought in to do the renovation. During the pandemic, we were at 92% collection rate. We had 2 residents that got impacted by COVID. So it wasn't really bad. The big thing, so I always talk about taxes. You got to keep your money in your pocket. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you can keep. And one of the things, the most powerful things when you start talking about multifamily is the ability to do cost segregation and be able to pull forward depreciation. And with this one, so I told y'all we had to put down 210,000. I brought a little bit over 110 to the table to close. That we got $170,000 write-off that first year for depreciation loss that we can take. And then if talk to your CPA. For those that do real estate full-time, you can get the real estate professional designation. Or if you have a spouse who does over 750 hours a year real estate, they can have the designation. And guess what? It allows you to wipe out your active income. So if you got a regular day job, you can wipe out some of that income too with that loss that's tied to your real estate to reduce your tax burden. Talk to your CPA about see if you're eligible for a real estate professional designation. But cost segregation, that is one of the most powerful things when we start talking about like the Montgomery apartments we bought last year. I think we're a little bit over 900,000 for the first year loss. Now over $900,000 write-off loss for depreciation for those units. So I'm telling you guys that this is a crazy strategy. When you start talking about multifamily, you don't have to. When you start talking about Grant Cardone, people talk about syndications. They got thousands and thousands of units that they own like 1% of or 2% of. That you don't have to have units. If you own 100% of a 10 unit or a 12 unit, and you work and pay that off, you already getting $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month cash flow after you pay all your expenses. But then you pay that off over 10 years, and now you're bringing in 15,000 passive income that's coming into you from that property. That it doesn't take a lot. All you need is one deal. Somebody say one deal. All you need is one deal. When you start talking about these kind of numbers, you get one deal. And the crazy part of it is we did all this. It took us about a year to get that money from the insurance company, which was fine. We only had 4 units down. But 2 years later, the appraiser originally said that at one point, it was going to appraise for 1.34. So we bought this for $1,050,000. Y'all, August of last year, it appraised for 1.76 million. 1.76 million. Crazy. It was crazy. Just it was crazy with the market, everything that was happening. And rents, we were able to go and get over $100 more than what we underwrote the deal at for our rents. And it was just perfect time. But guess what? You only need one deal. I'm telling y'all, you only need one deal. And guess what? Now you take the refinance, because guess what? Anybody know what's the tax rate that you have to pay on money you get from a refinance from the bank from loan proceeds? What's the tax rate they charge? I'm gonna see if somebody can get it. What's the tax rate that you have to pay on on money that you get from a loan from the bank? Oh, there we go. John's all over. Zero. That's right. You pay zero in taxes. And now I'm gonna tell y'all what the real strategy is. Now you take that capital that you get, that you pay zero in taxes on, that you get from that property, And now you take that money and put it down in deposit, and you go buy 4 more apartment buildings with that money, with the down payment. You do that one time, and it will set you up for life. You only have, right now, that's the thing that I'm trying to tell people. I don't have to buy another piece of real estate the rest of my life. That we good. If we just take care and manage what we got, we good. Because that's the power of leverage and being able to get and understand great deals with real estate and with multifamily. We talked about a little bit the Alabama pivot. Alabama is my market. If somebody got some in the state of Alabama, I want to see it come across our desk. We want to lay eyes on it. We're seeing a lot of deals, and we're just getting ready. We're getting ready. We're getting warmed up. We're making relationships. We're talking with people, and that's the thing. So I'm definitely bullish on Alabama, and just because the entry cost is so cheap, and we can work directly, build rapport with mom and pop owners. We kind of focus on 40, 50 units and below. And that's the thing. So we got a picture there, myself, Reggie there to the right, my right. The picture there, Jermaine, two of my clients, mentees, and we went through on the walkthrough. We had the whole team with us. We had the inspectors. We had a property management company out there with us walking. It was crazy for the 40 unit that we picked up last year for 1.925 million, 48,000 a door. It's crazy with the market rents, with market rents being a little bit over $300 plus increase. That's just going phenomenal. So we're about 15 to 20% through that one right now, and just continue to go through